Bigger battles. Tabletop wargaming rules for large-scale skirmishes throughout history and beyond. Hey, we're doing another Fistful of Lead battle report, but this time we're going to upgrade. I already had out my fantasy figures. I know we've been doing a lot of fantasy stuff lately. I already had the skeletons. I just got them painted up. I want to get a couple of games in with them. The terrain was already set up. As you can see, I made a few adjustments. I kind of tweaked it based on Wednesday's. And once again, we got Bromans versus Undead. But hey, this is kind of fun. We're doing kind of that War Games culture, Purple Druid thing. Same scenario, different rule set, see how things change. Let's take a look at the abilities of the Undead first, shall we? Here they are, lined up, ready to go. Normally, your commanders are built using the standard character rules for Fistful of Lead. So that's what we did. Now, he has a bodyguard with him. That basically provides him with an extra wound. Everybody on the table has one wound. We'll get into the actual details and how this differs from the skirmish, the pure skirmish level version of Fistful of Lead as we go. But I wanted to point out, what we've got is a unit of skeleton bowmen. All of our skeletons, soulless. We have bowmen, spearmen, and then a unit of zombies over there. Our skeletons are all brittle, meaning they add +1 when they're wounded. They are all soulless, so they never take any shock. And when you shoot at them, you are at +1. They are killers. They do +1 wound. These guys do +1 wound when shooting. These guys do +1 wound when they are performing melee. The zombies over here, they are soulless, so same thing, but they're green, so they only roll their d8s. Everybody else rolls d10s. And then they do poison damage. So if you get hit by these guys at the end of every subsequent activation for your unit, you take an additional wound until you heal up. Our Necromancer, like I said, he's got a Necromancer, has a bodyguard. He's a leader, which doesn't do him a whole lot of good because these guys aren't taking shock anyway, so they're not going to have to recover. But he is also fearless, so when he has to recover for himself, he ignores shock penalty. And he is cunning, so he gets 1 reroll per turn. Let's take a look at the breathers. For these guys, we have a General. King Hopper is back, now translated to Fistful of Lead. He's going to be rolling the d12. He is armored, as are the Knights. Now, notice that the Knights are regular forces. Most of the Undead are irregular. We'll get to what that means in a minute. We have 8 of these guys. They all have lances. I know a couple of these figures actually don't. It's a lance for today. But we were talking about King Hopper. He is a brawler, so he rerolls his melee roll. Cool-headed, +1 to rally, and tough. He's got 4 wounds, and of course, he is a leader. So when he tries to rally any of his boys, they get a +1, basically within 6 inches. We are going to be playing half scale. Once again, 15mm figures. So the movement rates are going to be, it's going to look fairly slow, but it just kind of gives us a little more room to play with. Heavy Cavalry, armored. They have an 8-up save every time they take a wound. They have Thunderous Charge. When they are the attackers, they are +1 on melee. And of course, they have the lances. We'll talk about what that means in a minute. We have 1 unit of shooters over here, infantry archers with war bows, range of 6 inches, 12 inches is long. And then they are eagle-eyed, which gives them a little bit of extra range. They are ranged fighters. They roll d12s when they're shooting and d8s on melee. Over here, we've got our 2 units of, now in this case, we're going to call them medium infantry. They have Thunderous Charge, again, +1 when attacking. They are ferocious, so they will do +1 on their wound rolls. And again, now the lances, the spears, don't do these guys any good because the spears mean that when you are fighting against mounted, how does this work? Because the Undead, we have a couple units of spearmen. When these guys fight spearmen, they are at -1. Mounted against spears, -1. But again, that's not going to do these guys any good because the Undead don't have any mounted. There's a couple of other little rules, but we'll get to that. That's kind of the general lay of the land, the scope of things, and the abilities to look for. Call me out if I get them wrong. Let's go ahead and take a look at the scenario. It's just going to be a line them up and throw them at each other because, it's our first time playing it. We're going to get some stuff wrong. And I'm going to do it on purpose so that you guys put a comment and then I get engagement and then YouTube says, wow, people sure like this channel. That's how we grow the channel. Correct me. I appreciate it. For this game, we're going to not worry so much about tactics and whatnot. We're going to play to a satisfying conclusion. Movement rates, these guys are regulars. The mounted regulars move 4 inches. The foot regulars move 2.5 inches per turn. These guys are all irregular foot. They all move 3 inches on an activation. Now, the activations for the bigger battles are a little bit different than the activations for the skirmish level. Instead of having 2 actions, you have a list of actions that you can take. And, to be honest, some of these things translate directly. Difficult ground. By the way, all the grass and moving through this are difficult ground, meaning that when you shoot at people in them, that's soft cover for these 3, hard cover if you're in this skull, which means it's -1 to the shooter and -2 to the shooter. When you move through these areas, you move at half speed. The lower jaw and the big T-Rex skull there, those are impassable and they block all line of sight. As I was saying, when your card comes up, you can move at the double, which means, you can move up to double your move. You can maneuver, single move and shoot at -1. You can form up for the regulars. That's these guys can form up in close order, which has some benefits. You can concentrated fire, which is you don't move, you get a +1. You can charge, +1 to close combat rolls in addition to traits. You move at twice the normal rate when you do that. So the deal is the difference between charging and moving on the double is that when you move on the double, you cannot stop within 1 inch of your opponent. Ready is kind of like a hold action. We don't really do that. And then mount, dismount, not going to be an issue. Crude weapons, setting up a completed task, setting up a crude weapon, all that's not going to be, and crude, CREWED, meaning the weapon has a crew. We're not going to have to worry about that. The other thing we're not going to worry about is trying to figure out who goes when, because I am going to do one last cut. And for today, what I'm going to do is just deal out our cards, and we can 1 to each unit. And we could just go through. So that's a 3 of hearts here, a 10 of spades here. So a little bit less decision making for the solo player, but that's fine. The cards are going to make those decisions for us. And as you can see, the king is going to go first, and our king of hearts is for King Hopper, who is able to move 4 inches. Now, one of the things I'm going to do here is, it would be great if these playing cards are just a hair under, I don't know if you can, yeah, that's a bad ruler. Bad ruler. These cards are just a hair under 3 inches long. And this way, they're exactly 2.5 inches. How nice is that? So the fact that he can move 4 inches means he can move up to right there, and he's done. Then we have the Queen of Spades, which, since this is 2.5 inches, I can bring these guys up to here. And then, now, I should point out our wizard doesn't have any wizard spells. I didn't give him the full, black magic, because I just don't want to deal with it. Our irregulars get to move 3 inches, so we're going to cut back about 1/2 inch, and we're going to bring them up to here. I'm just going to move one figure for now. I'll pause, and I'll move everything, off camera. It really streamlines things. What's our next highest card? The 10 over here for these bowmen. They can move the 3 inches. We'll bring them up to there. And maybe I should bring up 4 of them just to remind myself. 10, where are we at? 7, 6, and then we got some 5s over there. So our 7, we'll go ahead and bring these guys up the 2.5 inches to here. And they are in loose order for now. 7, 6, these guys get to move 4 inches. And I think we'll go ahead and, should we follow up with our leader? These are our heavy hitters. If they're going to be going after the guys with spears, they're at a bit of a disadvantage. So we'll bring them up the full 4 inches like so. And, there's few enough of these guys. We're just going to bring them up like that. If you're playing regular scale, they will be moving 8 inches per turn. And then we've got 3, 5, and 5 makes it easy. The 3 of hearts comes before diamonds, so we're going to move all 3 of these guys. 3 inches, just that little bit. We're going to measure back to front like so. These guys are going to come up, and I don't know if there's any kind of a buffer like there is in Dragon Rampant. I'm really just not going to worry about it. These guys go first, and then these guys can move like so, basically between there and there. And then our last card will be these bowmen, who again are going to be moving at 2.5 inches, so that is the short length, like so. There's what it looks like after moving. If it looks like they moved a little bit further than you expected, that's because they did. I forgot, One of your options is move at the double. So everybody moved twice as far as I had initially marked them. We can get to the good stuff a little bit quicker that way. But we're still going to zoom in a little bit tighter. So we can see the figures a little bit better, see the action a little bit better. It's going to be a 2 for the zombies, 3 for these spearmen, 3 ace, and a queen down here. Remember, the aces are wild, so we do have some decision making to go there. 5 of hearts, 10 of clubs, 7 of hearts, 4 of hearts, and a 5 of diamonds down here. We want to know what these knights' intentions are. We're going to make it lower than the 4. We're still probably good. If we move them up, they could be charged. So I think we're going to kind of start slowing down a little bit. That means that our queen is going to go first, and these guys are going to move up. Now, they are irregular, which may have some benefits. We're going to move them up to here. And because they're irregular, they cannot close ranks. They cannot form up. These guys can, these guys cannot. So there's our queen. And then we're going to move the 10. And in fact, these guys are going to move on the double, and we'll move them 2.5 inches to there. And then they're only going to be able to move a half a card length as they move through this terrain. So what I'll do is I'll tilt it, and I'll put a couple under there. And as I said with the last turn, we'll move those guys up when we're done. That is our 10 of clubs. The next order of business, and those are all going to go after all of these, aren't they? Yeah, so again, these guys have a range of, we're not going to pre-measure, we're going to move them up the one time, and then we're going to open fire over here. Now, the range right now is 9 inches. Those war bows have a range of 6 inches is short range, 12 inches is long range. Because they moved, they're going to be at -1. Hearts, 7 is bigger than 4. I'm surprised they didn't know that. We're going to bring him up to here to make room for these guys to come around. Hearts activates before diamonds. Have already moved those spearmen. Now these guys have moved up once. They are going to be hitting on, because it's long range, they hit on 8s. But they moved, so they hit on 9s, and these guys are in light cover, so they're going to hit on 10s. There are 12 guys. I've only got 6 D12s. Remember, they roll D12s for shooting and D8s when they are in melee. So we're going to roll 6 dice 12 times. If you get more 1s than hits, you're low on ammo. So we got to keep track of both of those. On the first roll, they get 1 hit and no 1s. And then for the second roll, they get a second hit and no 1. So 2 hits on this unit altogether. Then this unit is going to have to make 2 wound checks, and we're going to use our D20s. Remember, using D20s as D10s is very simple. If you roll an 11 through 20, you just subtract 10 from the result. Our 2 hits rolling on the wound chart, and I think these guys have... Now, the war bows have plenty of ammo. Let me just double check. They're ranged, they're eagle-eyed. We got that, D12. Okay. So just a straight up roll. They get a 2 and a 6. The 2 is going to be a shock, and the 6 is going to be a wound. Because these guys are undead, they don't receive shock. They're classed as soulless. The wound means take a dude off. It's as simple as that. Now they only have 11 guys that are going to be able to shoot back. Moving these guys up, we're going to go ahead and just bring them around. They're going to move at the double. They can move a total of 4 inches, so back to front. We're going to stop them right about there, hoping that we are outside of charge range for the undead, and that we are in charge range. Maybe we want to form up next turn. Oop, bring them around like that. All right. So the Bromans have all moved. And these guys have moved. So where are we at? We're at 3 of diamonds and then 3 of clubs. The diamonds go first. Ooh, bring that up here. And since they can't form up, what do we want to do? Do we want to bring them close enough that they can... Remember, they can move 3 inches, right? Do we bring them up on the double? Counting on... Well, we may be able to charge those guys as well. So why don't we just bring them up to about right there. and hope that they get the higher card on the next turn. Keeping them in fairly loose order. The zombies are going to kind of stream up here. And again, well, no, you know what? The zombies, let's go ahead and move them on the double. We'll bring them around here to try to tie up these guys, all right? The zombies are poisonous, so they represent a real threat. In fact, we may be able to charge him on the next round. They couldn't do it this turn because they are out of... They did not have line of sight, I don't think. Maybe reach, but whatever. Okay, so we're going to have 2 units going at 1 unit, and likewise, we'll bring these guys up 3, and why don't we go ahead... Ooh, are they in charge range? This guy sure is. Yeah, we're charging. We're bringing our spearmen straight up the gullet. They're going to be at +1, and remember they've got spears. The knights should have backed off just another inch or 2, huh? So there's what our combat is going to look like. We're going to roll to hit for both of these units. We'll see who does the most blamage. Hey, I forgot something. These guys are soulless, the undead, meaning these guys had a +1, meaning they might have done another 2 damage to these guys. Oops. We're learning, getting better every turn. Our undead spearmen means these guys are going to be at -1. These guys are going to be at +1 because they charged. So first let's roll our 12 d10s for the attackers. And they are going to be hitting on... because they are irregulars, they're hitting on 6s. They got a total of... No, wait a minute. They did get 1 5 in the mix. So they got a total of 5 hits, which means we have to make 5 wound checks. I'm going to use a die that hopefully shows up on camera a little bit better. So we got to roll 5 times on the wound chart to see what happens to the knights. And we get a total of a 4, a 7. Let me re-roll that one because it's a little bit cocked. There we go. So every result of 1 through 5... Oh, wait, these guys... Oh, I got it wrong. These guys are ferocious, so they are at +1 on all of their wound rolls. Got to add 1 to each of these. So any roll of a 1 through 6 is going to be a shock marker. We got a total of 1, 2, 3 of those. We got a 7, which becomes an 8. That is a wound. And we got a 9, which becomes a 10, which is remove 2 wounds. But wait, there's more. We are going to roll our... Because these guys are armored, we got to roll 3 times. And on an 8 up, these shocks become nothing. We got a 6, a 3, and a 1. So that is going to be 3 shock markers on these guys. This will roll, and on an 8 up, that wound becomes a shock. So that's 4 shock. Wait a minute. Yeah, 4 shock altogether. And then this 9, we've got 2 deaths. On an 8 up, it's going to be 1. We get a 6, so that's going to be 2 wounds and 4 shock. Combat is simultaneous, so these 8 guys are going to get to counterattack. The only real advantage they have, because they got charged, is that with the lance, one time during the game, they can re-roll misses in melee. We're going to use that right now. It's the only time that's going to come into play. There's 8 of them. Remember, combat is simultaneous, so we roll 8. They're going to be hitting on 5s. We get a total of 1, 1, 10, so there's only 2, 3, and a 7, so they get a total of 4 hits. Because undead are brittle, they're going to roll at +1 on the wound chart. And is there anything else for the heavy cavalry? Nope. Oh, yeah, there is. What am I talking about? We got 4 misses. We can re-roll those 4 misses and see if we can get a 5 up this time. We got a 9 and an 8, so that's 2 extra hits. So they do manage to do 6 hits. Again, +1 on these wound checks. We get a pair of 10s over here. We get a total of 3 10s. Wow, that's pretty devastating. A 7, and then a 2 and a 4. Now remember that the 2 and the 4 become a 3 and a 5, but because the soulless, there's no shock. The 6 becomes a wound. We remove 1 spearman. And for each of these 10s, 1, 2, 3, we're going to remove a pair of guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A total of 7 wounds altogether. I'm sorry, let me reverse that. If you cause less wounds, you have to retreat a full move. So we'll bring these guys back the 3 inches, and I'm just going to line them up like so. Attacking cavalry who win a combat, and of course that's what we have, immediately make a follow-up single move. This may take them into contact with another unit, including the unit they just had combat with. In that case, another close combat is fought. This can only be done once a turn. So we are going to do that. We're going to take advantage now that we've got the weight of numbers. And now that they have charged in, even though they've got all this shock, that may be a problem for them, because remember, shock does give you a -1 on your attack. Each of those shock markers also reduces your move by a 1/2 inch, which means our boyos here are only going to be able to pursue, normally before, they're only going to be able to chase 2 inches. These guys can fall back 3 inches, is it? What's their movement? Yeah, 3 inches, which means they're going to be caught an inch short, and that may be better for them. If they had only received 2 shock, they would have caught these guys and still be able to finish, but they didn't, so they can't. So we are able to move on to the next turn of the game, unless I'm missing something here. Nope, that's all the cards. Cutting our deck, dealing them out. Zombies get a 4, Queen of Hearts, 8, 3, and a Queen of Spades over there. On the Broman side, we're going to get a Jack of Clubs, a Jack of Hearts. Our leader gets a 2. Oh, that's devastating. And then like so. Now the good news is, oh boy. Do these guys have a shot at this unit right here? If half of the guys can shoot at half of the guys, so here's our half right there, can fire at those 3, they get to go first. And they are going to take advantage by taking a shot at these guys. We really want to put, well, what do you think? Do we want to put these guys down, or do we want to get involved in a shooting match with these guys? They are in range. We could shoot back at these guys. I think this is the heavy hitter, though. I think we want to pound those guys as best we can. So we're going to do that. We've got 2, 4, 6. We've got 11 guys shooting here. They have crossbows. This is the first shot. They're not moving. They're going to be at +1. Let's check the range, shall we? Nearest to nearest is within 6 inches. Crossbows have a range of 4.5 inches on close. So they are at long range. We're going to need to hit on an 8. And that's it. Well, okay, so maybe we want to move up and take a shot at these guys. We'll be at -1, but yeah, you know, that's really the smart play there. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Thinking about this, we need to get to within short range, because you go from 8 inches, you're needing an 8 up to needing a 5 up. So even though we've earned ourselves a -1 on this shot, it fundamentally amounts to a +2. Shooting at these guys, and now it's pretty clear we can fire into them. So our crossbows, we may pay a heavy price for this as these guys shoot, but I think we can live with that. Our crossbows, we've got 11, 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm going to take out 1 die. Let's take out the one that's hardest to read, and we roll our 11 dice. And now that we've rolled, if you have more 1s than hits, you're low on ammo. Although these guys have to reload between every shot. Because we're firing at short range, yeah, we are within 4.5 inches. We are going to be hitting on a 5 up, but a 6 up because we moved. And then am I missing anything? Crossbow? Nope. Oh, +1 to wound when shooting. They're actually at a total of +2 to the wound. But they need to roll a 6 or better. I got a 6 here. I got an 8 here. I got a 7. And I got a 10. And I got a 9. So that's going to be a total of 5 hits altogether. And these are going to be at +2 on the wound chart. Holy cats, that's pretty devastating. Because they're at close range, it's +1. Because they're killers, it's +1. So we got a pair of... Wow, I'm rolling a lot of 20s. Take my word for it. This was a 20. And we're going to go through just like we did before. These 2s become 4s, so we got 2 shock. These 2 shock will roll to see on the save. 8 up, we negate it. So one of those shock gets earned, and one of them is negated by this roll of a 10. This 6 becomes a 7. That's 1 wound. We roll a 6. It remains a wound, and 1 more guy goes down. And then we've got 2 double hits. If we can roll 8 up, it becomes a single hit. We didn't do that on either of those, so 4 more of these guys. And that is exactly why we wanted to do that. This old boy here is stuck with 5 shock. I think this is a pretty, I know it's zombies, but it's historical result. When you've got knights charging at spearmen, backed up by crossbows who have an open shot, they're just going to get shot to pieces. That is the end. Then we've got this queen over here, and we're going to, they are within 6 inches. These spearmen are going to swarm all over our leader. And it's not looking good for the Bromans. It's not looking good. The spearmen are going to roll a lot of dice. There's going to be 12 of them. Okay, so last turn, if we were smart, we would have moved him and put him, well, I don't know. Should we put him with these guys to protect him? Putting him with this guy wouldn't have done him much good, would it? All right, 12 hits, 12 attacks. Let me roll over here. I got a little more room. And we're going to get a total of, there's a 20. Hitting on 6s, remember. They charge, so they're hitting on 7s. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry. Hitting on 5s. 8 and a 20. So they got a total of 2, 4, 6 hits. We're going to roll on that wound chart. And remember, these guys are ferocious. They are going to be hitting on... add 1 to each of these. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3 shock, 4 shock. And all they need to do is 1 wound, and that leader's going down. 4 shock. He does not save any of them. And then we've got 2 wounds that become nothing. So now our leader is out of the game. I take it back. He has 3 wounds. He has 4 wounds. He only took 2. Oh, no, he took 3. That's right, because one of those was a 10. But he survives for that all important. Where's his card? He's on the 2 of spades. He's gonna be the last to go, but he may be able to rally this guy. I'm not sure about that. That was these guys. Then we've got the jack of. We got a lot of jacks on this side. +1 to shoot roll. Yeah, that doesn't do us any good, does it? Spades go first. When you have more shock than figures, you immediately fall back, and in this case, he's going to fall back 8 inches. And we're going to bring him back 8 inches to, right, get out of the way, card. We're going to bring him back 8 inches to here. Hopefully, he's still close enough. Is he within 6? He is, so he may be able to be rallied. Then you remove all the excess shock. There's only 1 guy. He's only going to have 1 shock. That's his turn. Then we have the Jack of Hearts. That's these spearmen who are going to come out and rally to this guy's defense. They are going to charge, and they can move. There's 1 card. 5. There we go. Hey, before we do that, this guy gets a chance to counterattack here, doesn't he? And on a 10, he's going to hit, and then we roll for the wound check. Because he's a leader, he rolls that D20, that D12 for the wound check. He gets a 6. The 6, these guys are soulless. They're brittle, so that 6 becomes a 7. That is 1 wound. He does 1. Now, because he lost the combat, he's going to have to fall back 8 inches as well. He's going to fall back to right there. And he's going to take all 3 of his wounds with him. Now, that was his fighting defensively, so he does still have his action. Then we can bring these guys to charge up into melee, and that's what we're going to do for them. These guys are going to form up. I'm just going to do that right now while I'm leaning over. And then this guy comes up as well. Now, they are not formed up, but they do have spears, so we have to deal with this combat right here. We are dealing with these guys now. Because they charged, they're at +1. Because they're attacking, they have an additional +1. They're regulars. Normally they hit on 5. They're going to hit on 3s, and we're going to roll all 12 dice. Looking for 3s. We get none, and that's a 3, 6, 5. We'll call that a 4. It doesn't matter at this point. A 14. So we got a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hits. We'll roll for 9 wounds. Remember, these guys are brittle. Our medium infantry does +1 to wound rolls. They're brittle, so it's going to be an additional +1. We're adding 2 to each of these. We get a 1, 1, 2. There's a 2. We'll just kind of sort them out by what we got, because these guys are... Oh, these guys do not have the save. They are not wearing armor. So we got a total of... these are going to be shock, which are nothing. We're looking for 3s. We got a single 10. 8 plus 2 is a 10. We got another 10. So that's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 hits all together. Pretty devastating. 4, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. But these 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, one of them died. So now we get 11 counterattacks by those undead spears. They are going to be at +1 on the wound rolls, but nothing on this. They're irregulars, so they're only hitting on 6s. I've got 10, 11 dice here, hitting on 6s. And if we pull out all of the 6s, they got 1 here. We'll call that a second hit and a third hit. So they got 3 hits altogether. Kind of a disappointing roll for the zombies, or the spearmen. 3 rolls to see how we do on wounds. They are at +1. We get a 5, 6, and 6. That becomes a 6, 7, and 7 because they're ferocious. 6, 7, and 7, that's going to be 3 wounds altogether. So 3 of these guys are going to fall down and go boom. They win. These guys have to retreat 2 moves. Or 6 inches. So from here, they're going to pull straight back to there. 1, 2, 3. And then we need to clean up the battlefield. Now it's our leader's turn, and I completely forgot. I did give this guy a special ability. He's going to move up to here with his bodyguard, and he has a laser rifle. AP1. Now let me back up. He has the ability to cast a death spell, and I just gave him the stats for a laser rifle. He shoots 8 inches at short range. It's low on ammo when it rolls a 1 or a 2, and he can do, so there you go, 8. Now, he did move. He's a leader, so he's going to roll d12s to see if he hits, and he's going to take a shot, but there's also, I think there's one more thing. Let me check the page here. The laser rifle only does 1, right, but it does AP1. So here we go. Laser rifle, trying to shoot. He gets a 4. Now he moved. They're at short range, so he only needs a 5, but he needs a 6, so that's a miss. So every turn, he can blast away at guys, and an 8-inch range is pretty darn good for these guys. Also, because he's stopped right here, we're going to rule that you can't squeeze through. You're going to have to come at these guys. That was our leader. Then it's going to be our bowman for the Broman. Hey, I'm a poet, and I didn't realize it. Firing on a 6. Now, if they were low on ammo, the 6 would allow them to just instantly reload. These guys are low on ammo. After every crossbow fire, you have to spend a turn reloading, or you will be shooting at half dice. In other words, these 12 guys will only roll 6 hits until they spend a turn reloading, which may be a good strategy. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and fire for these guys first. Remember, those guys are rolling d12s when they shoot. There are still... Now, I still think this was a good call. Wipe out the heavy hitters. Don't worry about these guys. Now, these guys are, at least for now, I think it's a good trade. They're only 6 inches away. They have a range of 6 inches. They're rolling d12s on the shoots. And again, we have 12 of them. At close range, they need 5 up. And I think that's it. Oh, they're not moving. So they only need a 4 up. Ooh, this could hurt. We get a total of, and so that's 6 on the first set. 6 hits. And then we get 1, 2, 3 more. So a total of 9 hits altogether. When they shoot, because they're good shooters, it's D12 when they're shooting. I don't think they get to roll the d12s on the wound dice. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 dice on the wound dice. They are going to be at +1 because these guys are brittle. We get a couple of 10s. No, we get 3 10s altogether. Nope, we get 4 10s altogether. Oh man, this is really going to hurt them. This is a 6. I'll swap it out with a die that is hopefully a little easier to read. Where's that 6? And there's a 6, and then the 4s and the 5 are... The 5 becomes a 6. The 4s are shock, which get ignored. So we have a total of 3 wounds, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and... Man, shooting is tough. But although, to be honest with you, part of that is because we had a couple of bumps with our damages. We're only left with one of these bowmen now. I'm starting to wonder if that was such a good trade after all. Our zombies are now going to charge into these irregulars. Zombies, we'll just bring them up here, kind of bring them as close as we can. Only roll d8s, but remember, they are poisonous. We're going to roll for them first. Let me go grab a whole bunch of d8s. The zombies are unarmed. They're at -1 in melee, but they charge, so they're at +1. They're irregulars. They're going to be hitting on 6s. My collection of d8s is sadly lacking. I'm going to have to roll 4 of them 3 times, and just remember, we're looking for 6s. That's 2 hits on the first roll. 3 hits, and then 1 more roll, and we get a total of 4 hits altogether. On the wound check, we're going to roll d10s. Again, I might be doing this wrong. What did I say? It was 4 hits altogether? Actually, I think I am doing it wrong. I think you're supposed to use whatever die you use for the attack, that's what you also use for the wound roll. We're given the zombies... Well, I tell you what I could do. I have this interesting book that answers that question right here. And that actually didn't help me at all. It just says, roll a die for each hit scored. It doesn't say what kind of dice to use. I'm going to go ahead and for today... Now, the good news is, Jay Wiley, that name should be familiar, because in case you didn't know, if you go to wiley-games.com, you can get your own copy. He does stop by the chat every once in a while, and he lets me know if I'm doing it wrong. I know for leaders and that they will use, when they're wounded... Did I get that right? I think leaders, when they wound, they use their D12. But check the comments for the answer to this question. For today, I'm just going to be rolling D10s for everybody. We got 4 hits on the Spearman, and we're going to roll a 9 and a 10, a 7 and an 8. Wow, that's pretty devastating. The 7 and the 8 are wounds. The 10s are double wounds. That's a total of 2, 4, 6 wounds altogether. And we are going to have to roll... Is it 6 wounds now when you got a guy that's poisonous? Oh, how do we do it with these guys? I think we're going to call this unit poisoned. I'm going to use the traditional green marker. And we're going to make an extra roll on the wound chart at the end of every activation for these 3 guys. And whatever that wound result is, we will apply. Hey, the good news is they didn't receive any shock markers. The quote good news. We had a total to start out, 2, 4, 6. We had 9 guys to start out. So those 9 spearmen are going to get to counterattack. And this one's a little easy because they roll d10s on the attack. They're going to be hitting on 5s. They did not charge. Is there any other bonus that they get? The medium infantry. They are not attacking, so they don't get +1 for that. They are ferocious, so they get +1 to the wound rolls. But they are going to have to hit on 5s. They get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits altogether. I think these 2 were misses. 7 hits altogether, rolling on the wound chart. They're going to be at +1. The zombies are soulless, but they're not brittle. So we're only at +1 on the wound chart. We'll pull out any. So there's 2 and a 3 and a 3 and a 3. Those and that 4. Those are all going to be shocks, which don't apply. We get a 6 and a 7. which become wounds, so they're only going to knock down 2. They have lost this combat. They're going to have to retreat a full 6 inches, and really, this is the only direction they can retreat in. It's a little bit wonky, but basically the idea is just get them to safety, like so. Double move in retreat. And then the next to go will be these spearmen right here who are going to move up in support. We're going to do a double move 6 inches to here. That does put them, and the big thing here is that they're safe from the archers. And I'm talking about these bowmen down here no longer have line of sight to those spearmen. The last figure that needs to act is this leader over here. If you are within a move action, you can form up. He's going to do that. He makes the one move and he forms up. So now he's at least got a bodyguard. These 2 guys are going to be fighting together, but that's all he can do for this turn. The only way to remove wounds in this particular game is going to be through the use of those lovely ladies, the Queen of Hearts. We are back to the card portion of the game. I've given them a little bit of a shuffle. And as always, I'll deal them out in the same order. The zombies get a 4 of clubs. These few guys get an 8, 8, and then likewise, we're going to go from top to bottom here. Now, I only deal 1 card here because these guys have formed and they are together. I missed one. Oops. All right, I guess it doesn't really matter. It'll be okay. King of Diamonds. Hey, look at that. We got the Queen of Hearts. Heal 1 wound. Ain't that a kick in the pants? King of Diamonds goes first. No, the King of Spades goes first. We're going to bring the King of Spades. Oh, actually, do we want to wait until Jack so we can start blasting away? You have to fire at the nearest figure. If we move these guys up to here, they can move the 3 inches. So if we move them to here, the nearest enemy figure is this unit right there. Let's do that. And as always, we're going to roll the D12 for our laser rifle, pew, pew, pew. An 8 is going to be a hit. Oh, no, is it? He needs an 8 because he's at... Well, wait a minute. What's the range on that? That's the question. He has an 8-inch close range. This unit is right at 8 inches. They're within range. So that is going to be a hit on this unit right here. We roll to wound. And we get a 3, which means this unit earns itself a shock. Pew, pew, pew. That laser rifle also has AP 1, meaning these guys have to roll saves on 9-up. That's it for them. Then we get to do the King of Diamonds. And that shock means these guys are only going to be able to move at... Well, if we bring them up here, which is absolutely what we're going to do. They are within 2.5 inches. So they can charge... And it's going to be 3 on 5. However, and we're doing this because they're going to take that extra poison wound. Because of the shock, our attackers are only going to get to roll 2 attacks. You reduce by 1 die for each figure. They did charge, so they do hit on 4s. They are the attackers as well. The medium infantry are at +1 melee when attacking. They're actually at +2 total. So that's going to be a 3 and a 6, which means they get to make 1 wound check. And with a result of a 3, +1 for being brittle, +1 for being ferocious, that 3 becomes a 5, which is a shock, which has no effect. It was worth a shot. Now we get 5 counterattacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are going to be hitting on 6s. Anything else for the spears? 6s. Nope. Looking for 6s. They get a total of an 8 and a 10, 2 hits, 2 chances to wound, and a 5 and a 5. But they're ferocious. Becomes a 6 and a 6. That is 2 more wounds. And these spearmen have lost, so he is going to move twice away. I'll call it 6 inches, right? Yep, that's about 6 inches. And then we have to make, because he is poisoned, we're going to make another wound check. And with that, he earns himself a shock. Then our next card to go is going to be the Queen of Spades. Now we get to see what a formation does. They're going to move directly ahead. When you are in close order, they're only 4 inches away, so they're going to charge into contact, and I'm going to kind of squeeze these guys in. A little bit of moving around. It's fine. They are now in close combat. Now, these guys are touching. When you're in close order, you have a +1 in melee, and not only that, but they have the spears and they're charging. They're going to be at a total of +3. So I'm rolling all 12 of my D20s, and they're going to be hitting regulars in close order. Regulars are at 5, close order is 4, charging is 3, spears is 2. Anything but a 1 is going to be a hit. And where am I going to roll these? I'm going to roll them back here. I know it's a little far away. All I need to worry about, though, are the 1s. We're going to call that a 10. And if I didn't roll any 1s, it's going to be a total... Oh, I got 1. This 11 counts. So we got a total of 11 hits, and we're rolling on the wound chart at +1. Ignoring shock. Wait, no, we're not. These guys are... I take it back. These guys are not brittle, so we don't have to worry about that. Remove all shock. That didn't apply because they didn't have any. But we are going to roll on the wound chart. It's going to be a straight roll on the wound chart for all of these. And anything, they are soulless, so any number that is less than 5, I can't even read this. Ugh, who designed this D6? All right, so we pull out the 1. We pull out the 3, and the 3. You know what? We are at +1 to the wound rolls. So any 4 up, this 5 becomes a wound. The 9 becomes a kill, becomes a double kill. That's a 2. And then we got a couple of 9s. We got 7s and 8s. So each of these 7s and 8s is going to be 1 death. The 9 becomes a 10, that's 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zombies go down. 2, 4, 6. But we have 10 zombies that get to counterattack. Using the D8s, we're going to have to roll 3 times again. The zombies are irregulars. They're at -1 to close combat, as we said before. They're only going to be hitting on 7s. They get 2 on that one. They get a total of 3 so far, and then I got to roll 2 more to see what the total is. 3, 4. They get 4 hits altogether. We're going to roll 4 wound checks. And we get a 7, 8, 8, 9. Holy cats. That's going to be a total of... The 9 up is 2 wounds. Oh, I thought it was 10 up is 2 wounds. That's going to be 4 hits. Kablow. Altogether. Wait, and the 9 is an extra, so that's going to be 5 hits altogether. Did we roll? I'm going to take off one more guy, because I think we rolled a 9 on those guys. So it's a total of 4 to 2, 4, 6, 7. But, oh, by the way, this unit is now poisoned. So unless we get a Queen of Hearts, man, they're going to have to make a wound check at the end of every activation. Not including this one. This is the one where they became poisoned. And then because these guys lost, they're going to have to retreat 3 inches, and then another 3 inches. They're going to have to pull back to right about there. But they have not activated on their card yet, so they will get a chance to race back in. Here, let me move my camera over so you can see how far apart they are. Then we do finally have an opportunity here. We are going to heal 1 wound, and we are going to spend our entire turn rallying to get rid of that shock marker. These guys have now gone, and man, they... Ooh, sure would have been nice if they could have come up here. But they can't. No use crying about it. We've got 3 spearmen down here who are 6 inches away from this spear unit, so they're going to charge. I know they're badly outnumbered, but what else are you going to do with them, right? So we got 3 skeletons that are attacking. They did charge. They're at +1 for that. And I think that's it. So those 3 attacks are going to be, they're going to do, there's a 6. They're going to get 1 hit. And that hit is going to be an 8, but they're ferocious. It becomes a 9. That's 2 deaths. We've got 2, 4, 6, 7 guys On the counterattack, 6, and where's my 7th die? I want to use this one. Okay, so 7 on the counterattack. See if we can wipe them out. We get a 9, a 7. We're hitting on 5s, and then these 3 are hits. That's 5 hits altogether. So we roll at +2 on the wound chart. +2 on the wound chart because they're ferocious, and these skeletons are brittle. So at +2, the 7 becomes a 9. That's 2 deaths. The 6 becomes an 8. That's another one, and that's going to wipe out that unit. They have done more damage, so they do not have to pull back. 5 of clubs goes next. It's going to be the shooter fight, and I think it's just about all over. We need to get rid of this guy. We do need to roll for everybody to see how many wounds we get. They're going to be hitting on, they didn't move, it's close range, hitting on 4s. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. Now we did get one of those. So if we roll all 1s here, then they'll be low on ammo. Oh, but look, we didn't. We got a total of 3, 4 1s and 5, 6, 7 hits. Ooh, that was close. 4 1s is a lot of 1s. But we got 6 hits, so we're going to roll 6 wounds, see what happens. Again, they're going to be at +1 because they're shooting at a brittle guy. Oh, you know what? He was +1 because he's soulless. Oh, look at that. We got all kinds of hits. He's out of the game. So we don't have to worry about this card. There's only 1 card left to go, and that is our zombies over here. There's our 4 of clubs. They are going to be able to charge 6 inches to hit these guys, and they're going to be rolling 3 attacks. Hitting on 7s, they get 1 hit, and that 1 hit is going to do 6, becomes 1 wound. They're going to take 5 hits in retaliation. Hitting on close combat. Now, they're not attacking, so they don't get a bonus for that. So they're only going to be at a total of +1 because they are in close combat, which means they're hitting on 4s. They get 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. So we'll roll for 4 wounds. They are ferocious. This is +1 to these rolls. The 7 becomes an 8. That's a wound. 2, 4, 6 wounds. And that puts these zombies out of the fight. Now, the question becomes, do we add another poison? Poisoned is a condition. We're just going to do that at the end of every turn that they activate. That is the end of the turn. So let's shuffle some cards and deal them out. Because these guys are reduced to half unit, they are now in open order. They cannot close ranks. You need at least half your boys to be able to do that. Shuffling them up, it's going to be a 9 and a 9, and then we're going to have 6, ace, jack, and a joker. What's that doing in there? And another jack. +1 to shoot rolls. Oh, you'll love to see it. That's going to be a queen of hearts, and it's going to go first. Queen of hearts means that we remove 1 wound, and just like that, we're back in the fight. We're going to use our 2 actions to... should we go ahead and charge? Yeah, boy. We're going to get some revenge, if we can. Now, we've got 2 different units here, so we got to think about this. It's going to be a D12 for the boss man and a D10 for that guy. Let's just roll the dice and we'll figure out what happens. We get an 11, which is going to be a hit, and we get a 10, which is also going to be a hit. So we're going to roll twice on the wound chart. And there's probably going to be... I know we're at +1 because these guys are brittle. The king is also going to be... nothing. The heavy cav is going to be... nothing? +1 on melee? Yeah, no changes on the wound check. We get a 6, which will knock out one of these guys. And we get an 8? Did I bump that? I don't know. It's an 8. An 8 does another wound. We're going to have to roll 5 counterattacks for those undead. Now, oh, you know what, though? Come to think of it, These guys are also at -1 because they're charging these guys. They got a 10 and 11. They're going to be fine. They only needed to hit on like 6s. But the spears are going to be attacking back here, and the undead spearmen are going to be at, let's see, +1 when they're wounded, +1 they're ferocious. They are ferocious, so they're at least +1 on the wound rolls, but I think that's it. They're just looking for 6s. We get 1, 2 hits, so we're going to make 2 wound checks, and those are going to be at +1 because of the ferocious. We get a 10 and a 6. The 7, so we got 1 wound and we got 2 wounds. So we're going to, remember, we're armored, looking for 8 up. Both of those get reduced. So the 2 becomes 1 and the 1 becomes none. And we're going to go ahead and take off. You know, I might have had to. This wound roll means he's at -1. Okay, so it doesn't matter, right? I'm going to go ahead and give my leader a 2nd wound. We had a total of 1 wound to 2 wounds. That means these spearmen are going to have to make a double move back. Badoop. Oh, and that's huge because that exposes them to the fire here. In fact, Hearts goes next, +1 to shoot rolls. Now, the good news is these guys are just over... In fact, we're going to swing them around this way just a little bit. Ha, ha, ha. So they're at least outside of that short range. These guys are going to be hitting on 8s, but they're not moving. So they're hitting on 7s. They're at +1 on the shoot roll, thanks to this jack. They are going to be hitting on 6s. And not only that, but because they're so skilled, they're rolling d12s. Looking for 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4... altogether so far, 4 6s, and that might be the end of this unit. 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to make 8 wound checks at +1 because these guys are brittle. Oh, and it's +1 to shoot at them, too. I forgot about that. That's going to be a miss and a miss and a miss and a shock. But we get a 6, an 8, and a 7, and all 3 of those are going to eliminate spearmen. So now it's just down to the leader, and I think then this jack, he's going to be at +1 to close combat, but he's going to spend his turn recovering. He has to make the wound check, again, because he's still poisoned, and on an 8, he's going to die. Then we have this guy gets to go, and he's going to run away. We're just down to the leader. I don't know what the win conditions are for this battle. I just fought out a single battle. The fact that you've got our Necromancer, even with his laser rifle, he is going up against 2 mounted. These guys are shooting like crazy. He's going to use both of his moves to boogie on out of here. He's going to move 3 and 3 to there. And I don't think anybody can catch him on this next turn. So on the next turn, he's just going to quit the battlefield. And we're going to call it a day. That is how Fistful of Lead Bigger Battles is fought. And this game does include, like, everything you could hope for. You saw we talked about there's laser rifles. It does have some vehicle rules. There is a separate title for vehicle if you like that. But it does have, just real quick, it's got fantasy. And this is exactly where I pulled my skeleton traits from. See, right here, zombie, horde, soulless, green. That means they use a D8. And they're poison. No weapons, because they just claw at you. They're irregulars, so there's 10 to 12 of them per unit. I didn't really balance this out so much. Oh, look, Barbarian Hero. Hey, look at that. You get Wizard. I probably should have used that for my Necromancer, huh? 2 guns, Veteran, Wizard Staff. Oh, treat as a flamethrower. Oh, yeah. Oh, now you're talking my language. Whites, you know, we could have thrown down some scouts, undead archers, spears. There you go. Fun little game. Next time, we're going to do Black Powder, a little bit of Napoleonics, or maybe, you know me, I really like doing the Wars of the Vendée. Until then, I'm praying for you.